Hi and welcome back to another video. This is some shows that didn't get their chance but they only had the one season. This more or less covers shows that have had, you know, successful first seasons and second seasons where I thought personally, there's only going to be 3 of these really, shows that I have thought that personally should go on and have a second season, even if it is detrimental to the actual first season, if you get what I mean. There's some of these on this free list is some that they've wrapped up really nicely and I just feel like they should have pushed on for a little bit more. Some there's no really ways they could have done much more of it, and you know, we all know these different types of shows where they've had the really good season, you go to then search for the second season and then you realize there isn't one in existence and they're not planning to make a second one. It sort of leaves you a bit like dumbfounded really, because you don't really know what to do with that. And it does, and you know, shows like that does sort of, there's quite a lot of them to be fair over time, and I'd love to list them all, but no, these are my 3 shows that I felt that no matter what, they should have had a second season for me, because I think it would have pushed them on for a little bit greater. The first one on this list is Darling in the Franxx. Now for me, this show was incredible. I loved it from start to finish, and I was quite annoyed to find out there was no follow-up season nor any plans for another one, and that's a shame, because you have different variants in this show where it's fantastic and there are little things here and there that add up and it's great. There's the little love triangle which never really turns out to be a triangle, the love in the background, the way the story develops, and yes, there's a lot of similarities people say to, you know, shows like Evangelion and different things like that, but I loved the love dynamic between Hero and Zero Two. And you know, the storyline did change quite a lot and it was quite dynamic in that sense, and I just felt like, and don't get me wrong, the show did end on a really good note, but where they left it and gave for me a chance for it to restart the second season. Now whether it was from a different perspective or it was following on from that cliffhanger, so I don't want to talk about how it ended, but obviously, you know, I don't really want to say, so yeah. But there was material in there, whether it was a OVA, a film, a wrap-up, like, but then again, I do understand why they didn't. Like I said, this isn't a series where I think they should definitely make it, or I think they are. It's more of a why I think they should. The second one was Your Lie in April. Now, this show broke me, and I mean, bro, I can't watch this show without knowing what's coming and crying. I really can't. For the 25 episodes in it, it's an amazing show. And I loved it, and it very much addresses throughout the entire season, whether it's an underlying tone or it's not. It's the dark side of a musician's life and the expectations on them. You know, if you grow up in a musical household full of success and then it's your turn and then you get those expectations thrown on you, or then if you're discouraged, you get dealt with, and and it's very dark to watch and see how they struggle with this, and it is quite incredible to watch. And then they intertwined romance into it. So when you have the underlying tone of serious expectations alongside the reality of a musician in these competitions and the competitive scene and how it can affect you permanently going forwards and as a person, for them to intertwine romance into it, it works really nicely. And don't get me wrong, this throwing Your Lie April into this it's a long shot, simply for the fact that this one, of how it ended, it's nearly impossible to do a second season. It always has been. But again, it's like I said with Darling in the Franxx, is you can just flip it on its head. You can just do a second season from the different perspective. Now, I know obviously you'd know the same story and you know what the outcome is, you know what's going to happen and all these different things. But I feel like if you addressed how the second side of it was and how they saw it from, it'd be perfect. And this is why my opinion on this is quite short on these videos, because these are very much videos that I don't really want to go too much into length to, but I like talking about them, and you know, and these are series as well that they speak for themselves and why they were so good. Like again, and then the third one is Toradora. Now again, these are more or less the main genre of romance shows, but romance shows don't tend to last longer than a season, to be honest. My Girlfriend's a Gal, Darling in the Franxx, Toradora, Your Lie in April, you know, all these shows are short lasting, and I felt like maybe somebody, if one of these had a second season or a second season or an OVA or a film to wrap it up, like Mirai Nikki, the first season of that and the only season, it is an underlying romance show, and then there's an OVA that sort of wraps it up and you can't really go anywhere else with it, and I liked how it ended that. And Toradora, to me, is the definition of cute as hell. This show to me has got countless opportunities on how to get a second season out of it, but judging on the fact that it hasn't been released and when it was released, I'm not hopeful in the slightest. But nevertheless, that, you know, this show came out a good 7 to 8 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, comments, and it ended on quite a decent note. And where it ended off, simply for the fact is they're still together, they have a promise. Next season can follow that up and make it, you know, a bit more, what's the word? Enjoyable, a bit more less serious. But at the same time, Toradora for me was an amazing show between Ryuji and Takazuki. Oh, I don't know Ryuji. But Ryuji's is a different kind of main character. He reminds me very much of the main character from Snafu, or Origaru even. And in the fact that there's a very pessimistic look on life, he has his expectations and things, and he has his hopes and dreams, but he's also very realistic and has a wrong persona chucked at him simply because of a slight appearance. And I feel like with Toradora, there was so many grounds on how to address a second season, but at the same time, you know, I understand why these shows didn't, and I'm grateful that these shows had their seasons by themselves anyway, and how they went about things. And obviously me saying I wanted a second season for these doesn't change the fact that I still love these shows dearly. They're gotta be some of my favorite shows of all time, which is, yes, that's a bit of a howler, but still. But yeah, this show, but this list was very much that. I wanted to put more on this, but I couldn't really dignify enough of responses or reasonings for why they drag up. There's probably a load more. Like, I feel like some shows should have got a third season or a fourth season or a follow-up film, and, you know, all these different things. I'm one of those kind of people where if the ending isn't perfect or it isn't followed up, I get really frustrated by it. And these 3 shows, I love them to pieces, but I left frustrated because I wanted more. I wanted more content from it, you know. 25 episodes for Darling in the Franxx, 25 episodes for Your Lie in April. I think it was 25 for Toradora as well. And they were brilliant. Absolutely every single episode. I loved them all dearly. And I feel like if you had more content, it'd be brilliant. But yeah, this was Wait for the Dead. This is another video. Thanks for stopping by. You got any more ideas for other videos? Let me know. Go watch my reaction videos. But yeah, have a good day and peace.